Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wet at Work podcast. You're with your host, Julian Leahy. And today I'm joined by the fantastic Merritt Kahn from Denver, Colorado. Welcome to the show, Merritt.
Well, thank you so much, Julian. It's a pleasure to be here.
Merritt has been all over Australia. She has seen the East Coast, the West Coast, Tasmania, and in fact, far more places than I have been. And that's only some of the exciting things about Merritt. Merritt, tell us a bit about your fantastic training business and how did you start that?
I started my sales and sales management training, coaching, consulting business back in 1998. So I'm dating myself now, but I was a client first of the training company that I ended up working for at the time, and it just felt very natural and automatic for me. I I've always liked to be somebody who could help other people learn and grow, and it was just a real natural fit.
And you know what's fantastic is that so you're in the sales training business, and people, I think, people forget that there are a lot of actually women in sales, but most of the sales training is men. It's kind of a male oriented. Do you find that women are loving that they've got someone like you that they can go to that has experience in sales?
Yeah, I don't know that I necessarily have experienced that. I think it's a fairly balanced business because really, women are amazing communicators, and I don't really make a lot of distinction between men and women. And I've seen a lot of courses, and people have asked me over the years if I could speak on, sales training for women and da da da. And I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, we all kind of have the same basic human needs and desires. We want to be heard. We want to be understood. We want solutions that solve the pains and problems and challenges that really frustrate and concern us. And really, at the end of the day, if I'm effective, if you are effective at communicating that you understand somebody else's issues and that you have the right solution that's an appropriate match to solve their problem, I'm not really sure it really makes a difference whether you're a man, woman, or a roo, a kangaroo, right?
Kangaroo.
It's yeah. So, I mean, hey, if the kangaroo can solve my problem, let's go for
And you do a lot of speaking as well. So that's been something that, it's a great way to consume sales training is go to a live event. But obviously, that's been something that almost went extinct over the pandemic. And everyone thought that it was not coming back and we're all going to do everything by Zoom. But you're going to tell us that people are starting to come back and buy tickets to actual live in person events again.
it. Absolutely. I was just reading some reports from the meetings and industry council. And they were reporting that travel is back up. I mean, speakers, all my speaker friends were all getting booked uh, pretty high volume right now. So it's nice. They're predicting that 2023 good industry, and I think that's good for people, right? We're human beings. We're very relationship oriented, and we need to connect. We've missed that for a long time, and I think people who have been out of that interactive, being people, going to conferences, game for a while, are excited. I know that a lot of the events that I've spoken at recently in the last year, people are just, they're so happy to be there. And
Yeah.
some events we're still doing, we're still having people wear masks and things like that, but for the most part, it's, business is definitely back. No question about it. And I think people are excited. And there's certain things that you really they're just best done in person, that human connection, as opposed to
100%.
online. It's great, but let's get back to business.
Especially in this industry, sales and marketing, it's about people, and you know, the content is one thing, and then there's what you mentioned, the connecting to people is another part of it, but also having an experience with it. Whereas you do it online, the content's great, but it's not an experience. And when you have the experience of going to an actual event, it's much resonates and you remember it a lot more. And I think the training sinks in, so that you just cannot replace in-person events, despite what people say.
I could agree with that more, and I've been chomping at the bit to get back to it, and so now that I am, it's like, "Oh, yeah, I remember why I love this so much."
And for people, I mean, you train people that are experienced in sales. You train teams of people. Maybe do you even train non-sales people that are starting to need to learn sales skills?
Yeah, that's I think that's one of the things that people don't normally, ask me about, so I'm thrilled that you picked up on that. But I would say most of the course of my career, the people that I've most enjoyed working with, that I see make the biggest progress, are really those people that never in a million years would have considered themselves sales professionals. And what I love about watching them discover for themselves that sales doesn't have to be this dirty, evil, nasty thing that they do. It's not manipulative when it's done professionally. And they get to really step into a different way of being, and use their expertise to really help their prospects and clients get to the right solutions, to answer the right questions. And so I've worked many, many years with a lot of engineers. Actually, I don't have an engineering bone in my body. I've never taken an engineering class, but for some reason, I have several clients that are in manufacturing. They make bearings and shafting and large custom equipment, and I don't know anything about any of that. But what I do know is how to talk to people, how to ask the right questions, how to set expectations in a sales conversation, how to connect with people on a human level. And so when you bring an engineer who has a very process oriented linear way of thinking, and you can teach them a process through getting through a conversation in a sales capacity, they love it. They learn quickly. They really map those lessons on, and nobody sees it coming. So my favorite people to train has always been those quote unquote non-selling professionals, because no, you don't see them coming. And when somebody like that in a non-sales role ask good questions to uncover sales opportunities, it's a win for everybody involved.
100%. Yeah, they're kind of the extreme opposite end of the salesperson is the engineer, and there's this big divide that the company has where the engineer is caught up with developing features and things, but they may not be what people want, and companies need to bridge the gap. And if they're starting to train the engineers in sales, I think that's going to be a huge thing, and people need to start
Absolutely.
doing that. Yeah.
And they're the best ones who are the best suited to ask the questions, that really uncover the nuances and the things that make their products and services differentiated. So really, where I've always played is if you sell something complex, creative, um, uh, custom, or it requires a consultation, those are the 4 C's that we call them. That's really what describes our best client. If you can just, click here, buy now, I can't help you sell more of those. I don't get into those, price wars and, you know, buy ours for 2 pennies less than the other guy. I don't get into any of that commodity kind of sales process. But when it requires an expert to do a consultation to create a custom solution, or that's really where uh, the training that we do that our team does is really most effective.
That's yeah, pro sales. Do you do a lot with what about the medical industry? Do you ever train those medical reps that are dealing with doctors and things like that?
Yeah, definitely. I've worked with some folks in pharmaceuticals, medical device sales, things like that. It's a very interesting sales process, because there's certain sort of unwritten rules about how you get into doctors and these things. So, that you've got to really understand that world. Um but yeah, certainly we've worked with people in those arenas. Yeah.
And so the title of this one is How to Open Your Mind to Close More Deals. What are some of the barriers that people have that you see and that you can help them overcome?
Well, I'd say the biggest challenge is a lot of times, we get so excited as sales professionals about what we offer, right? We wouldn't be selling it if we didn't believe in it. We're enthusiastic about it. We think everybody should have it, right? So there's that. We start from there, but we have to recognize that not everybody is going to be the right fit. Not every offer is going to be appropriate for every prospect. And sometimes I think salespeople over talk, like they're
Mm,
so
mm.
excited to share and to get to the part where they get to demonstrate their expertise that they forget to stop and pause to ask questions of the prospect to see if there's something that is on their radar screen or should be. But even before that, before you even start the conversation, you have to make sure that you're talking to somebody who's open to hearing about your solutions. And when you think, let's just say there's two people in the sales conversation. There's the salesperson, and there's your prospect that you're talking to. Well, that means there's two minds that have to be open to new possibilities before anything that you say is going to resonate. And so the first thing that I encourage my clients to do, my audience is to first ask yourself, have I already decided it can't get any better, or am I open to a new possibility? And I like to have my clients ask themselves that question before they go into a sales conversation, because I don't want them going in thinking this widget is the thing I'm going to sell them. And because if you go into a sales conversation like that, you are now bringing a very closed mind to that conversation, because you've already decided before anything else happens what you're going to sell them. So don't do that. Second person that needs to be open minded in the conversation before they can even hear your is the brother. And so one of the questions I ask my audiences, and I have my audiences and my clients ask their prospects, is, when it comes to blah, blah, blah challenge, have you already decided it can't get any better? Or are you open to a new possibility? And it's really hard to say, no, I'm pretty closed to any new possibilities. Like, nobody wants to be closed minded. So they'll say that they're open, but when they say that, it actually triggers something, and they actually have to then be consistent with that language. So now they really do have to be open to what you're sharing. Now, I share that because, it's not a manipulative move. It's it's of value, and it serves both the salesperson and the prospect. So, first make sure that before you give out any of your expertise or your good value, you make sure that you're bringing an open mind to the conversation, and you're testing that they've also brought an open mind so that they can hear all the good stuff that you're about to share.
Yes, you made me think of the Cialdini's principle of consistency, where
Yes,
the
very good.
person doesn't want to contradict themselves, and I guess a lot of that psychology stuff would be involved in what you're teaching people.
Absolutely. I wish more people picked up on it as easily and quickly as you did, but I'm a huge believer. In fact, I think Dr. Robert Cialdini's work is probably among my favorite of all the things that I've ever studied. I give him huge credit. I've been to his workshops. I really, hang on his every word, because his research is so spot on. And in his book Influence, the nature, I forget the subtitle, the science and practice
Principles
of
of persuasion, or
I
six
don't know, he's got a
principles of persuasion, something like that.
yes, so he has the six weapons of influence, I believe is his term, and
Mhm.
commitment and consistency is one of them. And so it's really important. People will they'll go through a lot of effort to prove that they are consistent with a commitment that they declared. So that's why you want somebody to say, yes, I really like this. Yes, I will. Yes, I want to buy this. In the old way of selling, we would try to get people to say yes like 7 times before we gave them our real offer. And that was in the category of tricky. So we don't do that anymore. Nobody's teaching that kind of a tactic anymore. But philosophy was sound, right? So we really do want people to, once they identify for themselves. So that's really the key. It's It's not about being pushy and salesy because nobody likes that, but it's asking good questions so that you can help somebody discover for themselves that they want what you need. And that's why we call our company Select Sales Development. We spell it SELLECT, not because we don't know how to spell the word select, but because really selling is really all about being selected. And so when you understand the art of selling, but you understand it in the context of, it's not about me selling you, it's about me asking you questions, setting up an environment so that it's comfortable for you to answer the questions with the real answers so that you can make the best decision for you. Then that's what it looks like to be selected. And that's really what we strive to do with our business, is to help our clients understand the principles of what it is to be selected.
Yeah, it's fantastic stuff. And if you want to check out what Merit Kahn's doing, which sounds like some really good quality sales training, head to meritkahn.com/podcast. What will they see there, Merit?
There's a bunch of free resources, so you can learn a little bit more about what we call our Open for Business framework. That's the methodology that we follow in our programs. You can also do what we call our own little SWOT analysis. So we didn't make that up, but strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. If you fill out a questionnaire online, not only will you get one of our coaches giving you actual feedback about your report, not a boilerplate automated template, but we're really going to look at the way you answered the questions and help you see some areas where you might want to zero in to make to get to your next level of growth. So that's on there. And then there's always a let's talk button. So don't be afraid to click that if you want to grab a few minutes on my calendar and ask me a question, or set up a time when we can talk further about what's going on in your world. Or certainly if you got an event and you need a good speaker on sales, I'm your girl.
Merit's your girl, definitely. Wonderful. Well, thanks for coming on, Merit. There was some fantastic stuff we covered there, short but sweet, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that will get something out of that. Thanks for coming on, Merit Kahn.
Thanks so much for having me.
Wonderful. And thanks for listening and watching. I'm going to wrap it up. I'll see you very soon on another episode. Bye.